What's up, everybody? Empires that had ruled for centuries collapse in a single generation. Two wars swallow the entire planet, and brand new ideologies promise paradise while delivering nightmares. This is AP World Unit 7, Global Conflict, and here's your map. The causes and horror of World War I, the Russian Revolution and the rise of the USSR, the Great Depression and the fascists it fed, and World War II with the Holocaust and the atomic bomb. The big skill all unit is causation. Stick with me to the very end, and I'll show you the single fastest way to lock all of this in before exam day. Let's get into it. Start here, because the College Board tests this every year. Why did World War I even happen? 4 long-term causes, and they spell MAAN. Militarism, nations racing to build the biggest armies. Alliances, a tangle of treaties that turned one fight into everyone's fight. Imperialism, empires clashing over colonies. And nationalism, intense pride-pushing groups toward war. Then, in 1914, one spark, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, sets the whole pile ablaze. Lock MAAN in, and you own this question. Now World War I becomes the first total war, and the exam wants you to feel why. New technology made it brutal. Machine guns and barbed wire pinned soldiers into trench warfare, where armies dug in and bled for years over a few miles of mud. But here's the bigger idea. Total war means the whole society fights. Governments rationed food, took over factories, and blasted out propaganda to keep people loyal. Civilians weren't on the sidelines anymore, they were part of the war machine. Don't fall for the name, because this war was not just European. Watch how it goes global. The great empires pulled their colonies straight into the fight. Soldiers and laborers from India, Africa, and across the world were drafted to serve Britain and France. Materials and money flowed from every colony into the war. And here's the payoff for the exam. Those colonial soldiers saw the so-called civilized powers slaughter each other, and they came home asking why they still weren't free. Hold that thought, it detonates later. Slow down, this one is huge. The war wrecked Russia, hunger and defeat broke the people, and in 1917 the Russian Revolution exploded. Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized power promising peace, land, and bread, and they built the world's first communist state. Communism means the government owns the economy and abolishes private property, all in the name of equality. They renamed the country the U.S.S.R, the Soviet Union. Remember it. Capitalism now has a rival superpower ideology, and that rivalry shapes the rest of the century. After Lenin dies, Stalin takes total control, and this is classic stimulus material. To force-march the Soviet Union into an industrial power, he launched the 5-year plans, state-driven crash industrialization. He pushed collectivization, seizing private farms into giant state farms, and it triggered famine that killed millions. And anyone who resisted. Stalin crushed them in the Great Purges, executing or imprisoning enemies, real and imagined. The takeaway. Communism in practice became a brutal totalitarian dictatorship, where the state controlled everything and human cost was staggering. Back up to 1919, where World War I ends with the Treaty of Versailles, and the exam loves this as a cause of the next war. The treaty hammered Germany. It took her land and colonies, slashed her military, and forced the war guilt clause, blaming Germany alone and demanding crushing reparations. Germans felt humiliated and furious. Here's the causation chain to memorize. A harsh, resented peace, plus economic ruin, equals the perfect soil for extremists. Versailles didn't end conflict, it planted the seeds of World War II. Now, 1929, the US stock market crashes, and because the world economy was wired together, the pain went everywhere. This is the Great Depression, and it was global. Banks failed, trade froze, and unemployment exploded across Europe, the Americas, Asia, and beyond. People were desperate, and here's why it matters for Unit 7. Desperate populations stop trusting democracy. When the system seems broken, frightened people start listening to strongmen who promise to fix everything fast. That sets up the next beat perfectly. So out of fear and ruin rises fascism, and you need 3 examples. Cold. First, Italy. Mussolini takes power preaching extreme nationalism, a powerful state, and one strongman leader. Second, Germany. Hitler and the Nazis exploit the Depression and Versailles rage, blaming minorities and promising national rebirth. Third, Japan. Militarists seize control and push aggressive expansion across Asia. The pattern the College Board wants. Economic crisis plus wounded nationalism breeds authoritarian, expansionist regimes. And expansion means war is coming. Now the explosion. The causes are clear. The failures of Versailles plus fascist expansionism. Japan invaded China, and Germany invaded its neighbors until the world was at war by 1939. And World War II was total war on a terrifying new scale. Whole economies were mobilized, propaganda flooded the home front, and for the first time civilians were deliberate targets, with cities firebombed from the air. More people died here than in any conflict in human history. Two more pieces define this war, and you cannot skip them. First, the Holocaust. Nazi Germany carried out the systematic, industrial genocide of 6 million Jews, plus millions of others, the horrifying extreme of fascist hate. The exam frames it among the era's genocides, so remember it as state-organized mass murder. Second, the bomb. In 1945, the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending the war and opening the nuclear age, where humanity could now destroy itself. Two outcomes, one lesson: 20th century total war pushed cruelty and technology to the edge. And that's AP World Unit 7. MA, IN, and Total War in World War I, the war going global, the Russian Revolution, and Stalin's U.S.S.R, the Treaty of Versailles, the Great Depression feeding Mussolini, Hitler, and Japan, then World War II with the Holocaust and the atomic bomb. You just covered how total war and new ideologies remade the entire planet, and you practiced causation the whole way. But watching is not the same as knowing. Head to AIM 5 and practice Unit 7 for free, with instant feedback on every question. Links below. Now go get that 5, and I'll see you in Unit 8.